Welcome. Thank you, everyone, for joining us this morning during what has been the most devastating week that I have seen in my lifetime. We are horrified, we are outraged, and we are grieving together with Israel and our entire global Jewish family. We also have tremendous faith in the resiliency, the strength, and the spirit of the soldiers and the citizens of Israel. We are with you, and we will do whatever we can to support you. Thank you all for being here this morning, and thank you for all the ways that you've showed up this week for Israel and for one another, whether attending solidarity gatherings, volunteering, donating, or just reaching out to someone you know and love. 4,500 of us were gathered on Monday on Boston Common. Another 900 of us gathered in the North Shore this week, and over 900 of us have registered for this morning. What we're doing here this morning is ensuring that we are educated and knowledgeable about what's going on. CJP and our partners will continue to convene us for learning opportunities like this in the weeks to come. Before I welcome and introduce our guests, please join me in a moment of silence and in prayer for the safety and well-being of the Israeli Defense Forces and all citizens of Israel, for the healing of the victims and their families, and for the return of the captives. Thank you. Miri Eisin, we are so appreciative that you are joining us today live from Israel. We know your circumstances are changing moment to moment, and it's possible that you'll even get called away while we're on this Zoom. We want you to know that our hearts are with you, your family, and your friends. Miri was our CJP scholar in residence when her husband Gilad was a Wexner Fellow at Harvard from 2004 to 2005. They lived here in Brookline with their 3 kids. And while they were here, Miri built so many special relationships with CJP and our greater Boston Jewish community. As she said to me this morning, in Boston, people know me, don't read my bio. Miri always does her best to meet with CJP groups when we're in Israel and to visit Boston when she's in the US. Miri, you're part of our Boston family. We love you guys, and we're thinking about you all the time. And just to introduce Miri formally, Colonel Miri Eisin is the director of the International Institute for Counterterrorism. She served in the Israeli intelligence community and retired from active duty at the rank of full colonel in 2004. You can and should read her bio, which we'll put in the chat now. But suffice to say, she's had a 20-year career in the military, is a renowned speaker, and we take any opportunity we can to learn from her. This morning is an opportunity really to learn from Miri. We won't be taking any questions during this webinar, but we will continue to gather and convene for more opportunities for learning and conversation in the weeks to come. Be on the lookout for CJP to communicate with you regularly and to share those opportunities. Miri, thank you again for joining us today. More importantly, thank you for all you do for Israel and the Jewish people.
I want to say amen, but that's the sort of thing that I'm not usually used to starting with. Wonderful people in Boston, CJP, my family. I said before that my biggest problem talking with all of you today, and I know so many of you, is that at the end I'm going to cry, and I'm going to try not to. It is Friday, October 13th. It is the 7th day. And what I want to try and do right now is go through in a systematic, Miri way on what happened. And I'm going to detail and talk about the attack, about the chaos which came out of that attack, which very much impacted the response, both about the response and going on the initiative. I'm going to be talking in that sense about very disturbing issues, but they're part of the context, both of the chaos and of the what seems to be also that lack of response and of our going on the initiative. And after I talk about those, I'm going to also be talking about what this means looking into the next few days, certainly about the connection to Hezbollah in the north and about the connection to Iran. And I hope at the end to be able to talk a bit about the amazing, amazing Israeli people and the Jewish family that I'm part of. So I'm going to start with the attack. I'm giving a description. I'm not sure it's full, But the reason I'm giving the description is because part of it gives an idea, we're 7 days into this, of the chaos that ensued, that we're at the end of the chaos, but we're not at the end of all of the chaos. This was a pre-planned, long-term terror massacre attack that was planned by the Hamas terror organization that most definitely hoodwinked us over the last few years. I'm putting aside right now the inquiry that will be after the war on how we were so wrong. Not wrong on their capabilities, not wrong on what we talked about that's inside the Gaza Strip, but so not understanding that this was about to come in the Southern Front. This is an unprecedented attack in history. So this isn't about more of the same. What happened on Saturday, October 7th, is a pre-planned, multi-pronged air, land, sea, cross-border attack, massacre, terror attack into the state of Israel, pre-planned to do the chaos that I'll talk about in a moment. And in that sense, under that chaos, to take hostages and to be able to do so going back into the Gaza Strip, and then to sit in the Gaza Strip with their 20, 30,000 strong terror operatives to continue it. What is their goal? In the words of Mohammed Deif, who was the planner, and he was the one who spoke and was put out on Saturday morning, the commander of Hamas, Mohammed Deif, said, we're going to Jerusalem, Al-Quds, Al-Aqsa, the Dome of the Rock, and kill everyone you see. I've been in this business for a very long time. Many of you know me from a variety of events. Hey, I was a full colonel during the Second Intifada with 3 little kids. As I said, unprecedented. There's never been a terror attack in the world of this kind. I wrote it down because I can't really hold it myself in that sense. We're talking about cross-border at 20, 30, 40 different spots, taking out the early warning systems in that morning at the same time. Air, land, sea means coming with tractors, with motorcycles, with pickup trucks, and knocking down out the fence and the portions where it's a wall, so they weren't coming from underground from those tunnels. Doing so in a multi-pronged movement, so that at pretty much the same time, 6:37 a.m., they were attacking in 30 to 35 different Israeli communities, ones that you visited, ones that have been with many Bostonian groups. And I'm not going to cry right now in that sense, but the ones both adjacent to the border that we have met together with, if it's Kfar Aza and Nahal Oz, Be'eri, or Kerem Shalom, and any of the other ones, because I'm not naming them, of course, Nativa Asara, but also going much further in, meaning both to the cities of Sderot, Ofakim, Netivot, into Moshavim that are a second line in, the ones that are not considered to be right in the perimeter of the Gaza Strip. And again, I say, this is that pre-plan. Now, I understand it in hindsight that it was to go in and to do it multi-pronged, and the orders were you go in, you murder, you kill, but this isn't about murdering and killing. It was about breathe in deep, everybody. Murdering, killing, mutilating, torturing, beheading. God, for a moment, it's called decapitating, burning, meaning they went house by house in 30 different communities and in Moshavim that you've never heard of. We've talked so much because on that front line, Be'eri, Kfar Aza, Nahal Oz, you couldn't even get to them. But there was also places much further in, and including in Sderot or in Ofakim, in small groups of 20, 30 terror operatives coming with an enormous amount of arms, of weaponry that includes grenades, and they brought with them elements to torture people. They brought with them elements to torch with fire. They brought with them, and that's the beginning. And all of this at the same time, including drones coming in from the sky, including an enormous rocket attack. That's how it started for me and my family here in the Tel Aviv area. And a lot of you know my family. All of us were home Saturday morning. The alarm went off at 6:32. My kids, my husband were out of the house within the hour. I've been home since then in that sense. They're all fine as we speak, and relatively, some of them in more safe places, some less. Now, what this is doing is a terror attack. This is doing chaos and instability, but it's not just the chaos and instability. It's to terrorize, meaning they were live streaming, they were uploading as they were doing the attack. In the area of the Gaza Strip, very near where the command post of the Southern Division, the Gaza Division is, there was a music festival. And it was, the day before Simchat Torah. And it was a music peace festival. And they literally caught the festival in the morning. They butchered the people, they mutilated the people, they tortured the people. They took some of them into the Gaza Strip as hostages, as they did from every single one of the communities. They torched everything, they burnt everything. They took off of the Israeli soldiers who were on, because they were simultaneously also attacked. And again, there are few survivors that are from that. It's not that they killed everybody at this stage, but what they did is they created the chaos, and the terror. And that brings us to what happened. Because immediately there was a response of troops. They took the uniforms off the Israeli soldiers. They took the vehicles so that when the forces came in to try in these different communities, where in some of them there were local hostage things going on. But this is all happening on Saturday, where that first group of soldiers at a variety of different places responded. There are differences in the different area on what they arrived at, on how they handled it. And here we are into that, because what happened on that day is that thousands of people were mutilated. Thousands. There are still hundreds of people in Israeli hospitals in such horrific condition, not dead, but because they were burned, that nobody knows who they are. So when we're talking about the hostages, when we're talking about the missing, when we're talking about why is there such chaos in Israel, it's because they did that on purpose. This was a planned, heinous attack that was done in a way that there is no precedent in the world. Okay. The chaos brought about, in that sense, that Israel has been working from Saturday on two parallel modes. One is you need to stabilize the area inside the state of Israel, in the city of Sderot, in the city of Ofakim, that were invaded with these kind of units. And I'm sure you've seen different clips of Saturday. But hand in hand with that, you have to go in, and it wasn't necessarily reconquering. They didn't come in to conquer. They came in to murder and kill. That was the plan, as they came in, and then they were going back. But as there was so much chaos going on, the border line stayed open, certainly Saturday and most of Sunday, because with everything going on and those different battles taking place inside dozens of different Israeli towns and villages, all of the different agricultural communities, the moshavim, the kibbutzim, and the towns and villages in that area. The response itself in that sense is also being, again, as I look at it right now, there is no good response. And the number of soldiers, officers, and high-ranking officers killed just on that first day, trying to find some sense in the chaos, that were past. What does it mean? The IDF, I would say from Saturday night, was more stabilized, because again, there's chaos. Nobody knew what was going on. It took really a day until Sunday, and even until Monday, when they were really retaking from the amount of terrorists that were there, because they had surrounded them and they've been killing them. And there are over 1,500 bodies of terrorists that are still out there. They haven't gathered those bodies. And there are an additional 1,000, I think, terrorists that were taken prisoner that are in a different place in that sense. The numbers right now, we're looking at approximately 3,000, maybe 4,000 terrorist operatives that came in and simultaneously did all of these different attacks. And at the same time, Hamas have learned all of the lessons that we've constantly talked about of how to not make the Iron Dome not work. The Iron Dome works, thank God. David's sling works. But the whole thing is, remember the statistics, 90 to 95%. It's been 95%. That means that 5% gets through. So simultaneously with the ground attack, with the mutilating and the torturing, and then the troops arriving and seeing soldiers, and those soldiers opening fire and killing them and decapitating them and taking more of them hostages, nobody knows today, day 7, who exactly the hostages are, because they took families, but they didn't take families. This isn't a family moment. They took the 3-month baby and the 4-year-old and they killed the parents. It's just a series. We've all seen those different pictures. And again, nobody knows exactly who, what, where because of the music festival and because people don't sign in on where they are in their house on Saturday morning on their kibbutz, moshav, town or village. Where are we now? The IDF has been from Saturday attacking all of the different Hamas targets inside the Gaza Strip. When I say Hamas targets, on Saturday, and I would say even on Sunday and perhaps even on Monday, it's called going at the usual targets. The difference has been that certainly already from Sunday and onward, we've already been attacking with pre-warning targets we never touched before. That we've already been doing from Sunday, Monday. What does that mean? Yes, remember we've talked about this. We're attacking the cache of weapons in the mosque. We've been attacking the command and control areas that are in the hospital and in the school and in the camp. We're not allowing it just to go by. And that's already Sunday, Monday, and we're already on Friday. I go back to the numbers. Hamas, it's like Miri, the teacher, the educator. Hamas is 25 to 30,000 trained terror operatives. At this stage, I can talk probably about maybe 3,000 that came into the state of Israel and did this heinous act. That means that there's another 25,000 inside the Gaza Strip. The only way to be able to get to them is through that combined action now of first and foremost at the moment, knocking down the structures that host within them these Hamas headquarters cache of weapons where they feel safe. They can't feel safe. You cannot allow this to stay. This isn't more of the same. This is something else. The ground operation, which is expected today, tomorrow, tonight, yesterday, it's something that it's building up. Israel last night, the IDF spokesperson announced in Arabic, they flew over the Gaza Strip and dropped endless amount of leaflets. I don't know if their phones work, if they can see what's going on in those sort of sense. We are not supplying any electricity there. They ran out of their own electricity. People have generators. It's not that they're disconnected. They're putting out footage in Arabic, horrific footage all of the time. As we do so and go on and in, we gave series of different warnings from Monday, Tuesday, and onward. The initial warning was leave all of this neighborhood because that neighborhood is where the Hamas infrastructure is. And we announced it and we said, you don't leave. Hamas is holding you there as a human shield. Leave, don't stay there. And there was mass movement already from Monday, Tuesday. When I say mass, 100, 200,000 people in the Gaza Strip, and it's not that small. There's a place where they moved to, but they moved into the city, into Gaza City. And what Israel announced last night is that in a line in the Gaza Strip, which is from the middle of the Gaza Strip going north, which includes Gaza City, essentially we're talking about approximately 1 million people. We said to them, leave and be out in 12 hours. That was last night. Today we flew in again with pamphlets and said, leave. Why did we fly in again? Because Hamas has put out on every single way that they can. They said that that's fake news, that they shouldn't leave, that Israel is not, we're going to bomb. Hamas is using its own people as human shields. The hostages are there. I can't even explain and expand. To be able to get to the hostages, you have to do the ground operation. Hamas showed their true, horrific, bloody colors on Saturday. This isn't about negotiating with Hamas now and letting out 30,000 terrorists from Israeli jails. That's not where we are right now. You can't allow this infrastructure to be in the heart of an area which is right on the other side of the border. And ground operation will do that. My heart gets very heavy. Ground operation is harsh, impossible, casualties. That's much more IDF, not that the IDF until now, as I said, in that first stage, many soldiers were killed in going in to clear out all of the areas inside Israel. And they've already stabilized it, but these are terrorists. They haven't yet finished the stabilizing inside Israel. Going into the Gaza Strip, Hamas booby-trapped bodies that they had mutilated. so that when they came into the communities that are people that we know, bodies were booby-trapped. What awaits us when we go into the Gaza Strip is a booby-trap zone. And yet we have to go in. You cannot let it stay there. This is the stage where we, as Israelis in that sense, need the world the most. This is not easy for anybody. This is not happy for anything. This is something that Miri, I'm the one who's always, it is a necessary step. There is no choice. You can't leave it. And it's the only way that in any case you can get to any of the hostages. And the worst part about it is, to be clear, the images that we are going to see are going to be way worse, because they are going to execute the hostages and they are going to put them at the top of the different places as a human shield, and they're going to film it and show it. And my heart is breaking. And here I am. And I pose it in that sense that I don't want to think about that decision-making right now. And as we go forward, because we're still in the chaos, we still haven't identified hundreds of people. We still don't know exactly who is in the Gaza Strip and who is not. They still haven't found all of the bodies. There's still there's nothing, as I said, when I say unprecedented, the numbers, we're talking about 1,300 killed, maybe 1,500 killed. These numbers may fluctuate up. They were all killed on Saturday, but so tortured, mutilated, burned, and it's beyond me. What can we look hand in hand with the ground operation? The ground operation will be bloody, ugly, harsh for us, for civilians who aren't going to leave if they don't leave. And at this stage on Friday, and I say again, it's just, the tzchok hagoral. Every once in a while, I have to make very, very bad jokes to be able to understand where we are, that it's Friday the 13th. But all of this, I'm saying, as the expert who has stood endlessly with so many of you on the northern border, Hezbollah has 10 times the capability and has been training openly, overtly, sending out clips of it to the world to do what Hamas did on Saturday. That's our northern border. So I ask it as a rhetorical question. I want each and every one of you, wherever you are right now, to understand the dilemmas here, where my friend's up north, my husband is up north, my other son is nearby, my other daughter is down south. Okay, we're all over. I'm saying just me, Miri, you guys know me, okay? I have the two boys are safer. My daughter is in a fighting unit. My husband is in a fighting unit. So we're all over the place right now. But so, do you want us to preempt against Hezbollah that has been keeping it highly tense, using the Palestinians that are the Palestinian Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad that are inside Lebanon to do little acts, doing small acts to make sure, as I like to call it, they're poking, they're testing the waters, they're trying out what our responses. We've been preparing ourselves for something like this from the north. But what happened in the south created a chaos that we are not ready for. It's going to take a long time until we, as a people, just because, don't you want me to only be talking about the hostages and what we should be doing? We haven't yet identified the people. We don't know who the hostages are. There's only a specific amount of people in Israel that have been told that their loved ones are hostages, but they still don't really know. It's not like Hamas is telling us they're a murderous terror organization. They'll execute them and say that was the hostage. In the north is Hezbollah inside Iran. The north is Hezbollah backed by the Iranians. The north is the Iranian foreign minister who flew into Beirut yesterday. Hezbollah is meeting right now. Hassan Nasrallah met with the Iranian foreign minister. It's about the heads of Hamas who sit in Lebanon. Salah al-Arouri, who is one of, together with Mohammed Def, that's another name within the Hamas, who sits in Lebanon and feels safe there. Really? Should we allow them to be safe there? Oh, good. Should we start the front with Hezbollah? Are you kidding me? How can we not start that front? Are we going to allow to have a monster? Look at what just happened. A monster on our northern border. I'm giving you the dilemmas. It's Friday the 13th. It's the 7th day. We're not in a war of 7 days. I don't know in that sense where we're going and what will happen. I just know that these dilemmas are the dilemmas on the table. So I went through attack, descriptive, chaos, descriptive, a little bit about the response, the initiative, a little bit about Hezbollah, the North, Iran, and the different capabilities, I need to talk a little bit more about Iran and a little bit about the international community. So the question that everybody's asking now, not for, again, the hindsight, but to be able to understand this attack. So was this just Hamas prepared, very detailed plan of death, destruction, terrorizing, and taking the hostages? It's an unprecedented type of, there is no such attack, okay? So did they think this up on their own? Why did Hamas do it? Hamas calls for the annihilation of the state of Israel. Mohammed Def said, this is to get and free Al-Quds. It's Friday. Friday is always a day where Al-Quds, Jerusalem, Al-Aqsa are very important for 2 billion Muslims worldwide. And Hamas on Tuesday, not yesterday, on Tuesday, put out a cry and said on Friday, all of the Muslims in the world should stand up and free Al-Quds. Come join us. And that's this Friday. Iran immediately put that out. Khamenei, who is the supreme leader, put out his joyous statement at the achievements of the Hamas freedom movement. I kind of want to vomit right now. When I say that, though, we need to be clear that Hamas has been shown for way too many years, and I made this mistake too. I want to share with you because this is part of the challenge of what we're meeting now throughout the United States and the world, not in a horrific way. I have to tell you, in the Western world, it's there, it's terrible, but there are at least a lot of other voices right now. But because Hamas for so many years has been portrayed as a Palestinian organization and not as a terror organization, everybody thinks that we're attacking a Palestinian organization, and I'm attacking a terror organization with the worst type of terror that's ever been seen in the world. How can I put it? This has nothing to do with the Palestinians. I protect the Palestinian people a lot more than Hamas. I tell them to leave before I attack. I tell them to get away from where this infrastructure is. It doesn't make me proud. It doesn't make it easy. And it doesn't mean that there are not casualties that are on the other side. I do that, me, Israel, and I'm not tooting my horn. And I've done that all of the time. And yes, innocent children get killed, and that's horrible. It's horrible. But that's not what this is about. What do you do against the worst terror attack in modern history? There's nothing like this. In Israel right now, in that sense, the response, that big question, is both in the rhetoric, Iran together with Syria, Bashar Assad, I don't care. Have you noticed Putin, okay? Not that any of us expected anything else, but Vladimir Putin is supporting Hamas right now. Very clear cut in that sense. It's like, here we are. Again, we're in the middle of a chaos and so many problems. But when I look at it right now, it is not just Israel against murderous terrorist Hamas, not against the Palestinians. It's not about that at all. It's against murderous terrorist organization Hezbollah, who have been showing endless footage of how they are going to do this kind of an attack on our northern border. So should I preempt? Then it's my fault. Why did I attack? Should I wait for this kind of an attack? By the way, we have evacuated already on Sunday all of the close to the border northern Israeli communities, the ones that many of you have visited, if it's Misgav Am or Metula, all the ones that are right on the fence. But in the Hamas terror massacre attack, they went way further in. A few notes that I need to add in as we look at this and as I talk to you, and as my heart in that sense is just, as you can tell, it's breaking, but we're strong. One is that the United States of America, in President Biden's speech, was essentially the best thing that happened to regular Israelis this week. I'm not going to talk about our own leadership. We're in the chaos. That's not the time. I'm just going to say that they haven't, the very short times that they've talked to us at all, we are in chaos. There's a lot of decisions to be made. And that speech was something that made us feel that, oh my God, because hand in hand, I want to remind you, Hamas already on Tuesday called for all Muslims in the world to continue, and look at what's happening today on this day where there's already all sorts of clashes and what's been happening on the campuses, and that this is about freedom of Palestine. And that clear-cut statement was beyond something of how we feel. It's not just the United States, okay? Things that have happened that have never happened before. France banned, United States can't do that. France gets to do things like that. They banned pro-Palestinian protests in the country called France. And I say that because that's making a statement at the highest level. It's taking a side. And when I do so in that sense, I understand so much how much these different aspects of the world support, but the understanding that what happened is not about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. It is about a terror organization using the worst, most complete, most unheard of capabilities. And when we say Hamas is ISIS, this is way beyond ISIS. They didn't come in to attack a territory, conquer a territory, defend themselves. No. They came in to murder, pillage, kill, torture, mutilate, go back in, take hostages. What did they think was going to happen? We were going to just sit. So here we are right now. So I said the international community, and I want to end right now in that sense and talk about the Israeli people. Wow. Many of you know that I've in my adult life, in my professional life, in the last 15 years, once a week, I'm down in the Gaza perimeter. I take different important groups down. I was down there with senators and future presidents and in the United States and people from all over, because for years we've talked about the challenge of Hamas and festering Hamas. Those communities don't exist. Okay, they were burnt, that they were mutilated in the worst way possible and burnt, and we're going to rebuild them. We're going to rebuild them. That's something that we're committed to do, and we're going to do. I don't know if any of the people there are ever going to want to go back. In these communities that are places where you had 700 people on a kibbutz, 1,000 people on a kibbutz, 1,500 people on a moshav, 1 in 5 are killed, mutilated, missing, hostage. How do you build a community after that? They have my heart's, not just that. The second aspect is the aspect of the hostages and the unknown, as I said before, and I emphasize it. Whatever we can do, we need to do. This isn't a 0-1 situation of stop the war, let out 30,000 prisoners from Israel, and then they'll let them go. That's not what they did on Saturday. Don't believe them. I don't believe them. And I say that because the price of doing that is of succumbing to the worst type of terrorism that has ever been seen on earth. What does that mean with the hostages? Ground operation, systematically trying to get to them, trying to be as good as we can, taking a deep breath. But the resilience, giving us support, knowing that in Israel right now, it's on, it's closing in on towards Shabbat. Kol Israel arevim ze lazeh. We have been amazing. Okay, so I've been working a lot. Some of you may have seen I'm doing a lot of TV. I'm actually doing a lot of briefings and background in TV because we really need to get to that. And it's been very impacting on governments around the world and on certain social media around. I'm now the head of an institute that we're trying to impact very much with the images and so that they hear what the Arabs are saying to themselves. I started to say this before, and then I stopped. Hamas, since yesterday, the guy who's sitting in Lebanon, they're putting out a very different story, and you need to be aware of that because people who are on that side hear the different story. They say Hamas attacked military bases, and that's all that they attacked, and that they were very successful, and that's all that they did. They do not acknowledge that they planned, pre-planned, attacked, tortured, and mutilated 30 different Israeli civilian communities. They're just denying it, let alone the massacre that they did at the musical festival. By the way, most of the people inside these different arenas say all Israelis are military. It's something that's always been inside that rhetoric. So when they say that they only attacked military bases, it's because they call Kfar Aza, Netiva Sarah, and Moshav Patish in the city of Sderot. They are military bases. Why? Because there are Israelis in them, and Israelis served in the military, so they're military bases. Our resilience, we're there. We are hurting. This isn't a question of unprecedented. I, every once in a while, break down and cry. I thought I would in this briefing because it's my Bostonian family. I've been holding pretty well until now. Talking about it, it's not just the emphasis, it's the horror. I chose as a profession to teach, talk, write as I can about this issue of terrorism. But there's nothing like what has happened in Israel. And our resilience is that every single person in Israel right now, everything, of course, of last week is put aside. And what we're doing is we're here for each other. Bring food, bring help, go out. I'm talking about the Israelis in Israel. Everybody, can I do a car? Can I do it this? Can I? And it's what we're strong out. It what keeps us strong. We are hurting. I want to make a request because in our hurt, one of the most amazing things that's happened to every single person I know in Israel is that you're reaching out to us. My request is not that you don't reach out. It's so important. Just reach out and say, thinking about you, hope you're okay. Most of the people do not have the time, the strength, the capability to start answering, but they want to know that they're being thought of. Because what we're going through is inconceivable, so that they're not going to start telling, how are you? It's like people want then to find out what it's really like on the ground. People here, there are those who want to share, but most people, well, our hearts are broken. We are with an open wound right now, every single Israeli, every single Jew. And right now, in that sense, our strength is that you're thinking, you're helping. At CJP, I know how much you are helping. And as we go forward, this is long term. This is not over tomorrow morning. This is not a question. This is an unprecedented, incomprehensible, heinous terror massacre attack done to sow the chaos. And we will withstand this and we will survive. What can I say? I'm Israel Chai and I'm stronger because of you. Now, of course, I'm going to cry, but I'm going to try not to. Shabbat Shalom from where we are here.
Miri, Toda Rabba. Thank you very much. This is not easy. I'm Noam Bentov. I'm the Associate Vice President for Israel and Global Jury at Combined Jewish Philanthropies here in Boston. And together with my team, we have been trying to provide support in light of the horrific stories we're hearing. I personally have family in Kfar Aza that thankfully fled, and hearing their stories, and unfortunately they're still in the hospital, but they're safe. But hearing what they've been through, it's just gut-wrenching. And I know that unfortunately their story is not unique. For those on the screen listening in, if you have friends and family in Israel, check in with them. I tell everyone, we are not okay. We are not okay. We will be okay. We're fighting and we will prevail. But the level of atrocities and the sheer horror of what has transpired is incomprehensible. It's incomprehensible, and many of us are going to be healing for a long time. Sorry. I do want to mention that many in our community are looking for ways to help, are seeking ways to help, and we are grateful. We're grateful. So I am going to name for our community a few ways in which you can help, or just stay informed. And I believe one of my colleagues is going to drop some links in the chat right now. So the first way to help and be involved is to stay informed. You can go on jewishboston.com for news, resources, and upcoming events. The other way we can help is by purchasing items from the IAC, the Israel American Council's Amazon wish list. That link will be dropped in the chat as well. We've been working closely with the Israeli community here in Boston. We believe there are around 30,000 Israelis in the greater Boston area, and we are here for them and are here with them to show our support. Another way that you can help is visit our Volunteer to Help Israel page. Again, that link will be dropped off in the chat, but you can sign up for opportunities and offer assistance. And lastly, and maybe most important, Israel needs funding. It needs our financial support, and CJP has been running an Israel Emergency Fund. 100% of your donation will go towards supporting victims of terror and addressing the unprecedented level of trauma caused by these horrific attacks. This is what the people of Israel need the most, and CJP can ensure that these resources get there immediately. Again, that link is in the chat. With that, I want to thank you all, and please, we have more gatherings planned for the weeks ahead and more educational opportunities. We are here as one community, and together we will prevail. Thank you very much. Shabbat Shalom, and Am Yisrael Chai.